Here on this DeBacco University video, I'm going to go over how to properly take a soil sample, because it's very important that you follow the right protocols so that you're sending a quality sample to the lab that you'll be basing your results from. All right, here I'm going to go over the steps on how to take a proper soil sample, and then walking you through the process myself as well. Hope you enjoy the video. Well, first off, why would we be taking a soil test? And a soil test can help tell the chemistry of the soil that cannot be seen based on only a visual inspection. It can also aid in deciding what amendments need to be added to an area with the proper sample can end up saving the grower a lot of money. So it's important to not just take any random soil sample, to be sure that you're going about it in the proper method, because you're going to be basing hopefully a lot of amendments and a lot of end kind of processes from here based on the results of that soil test. So take a quality sample, it'll pay off in the end for you in your plants. So how to ensure a good sample? Well, the goal is to get a field representative sample. This is accomplished by collecting many subsamples that are put together to create an average sample. You don't just want to sample from one area and send that off to the lab. You want to get a collection of samples. Do not sample only from that one area, as simply put, this will not produce results representative of the field, as it will only provide information about a point in that whole field area. Many occurrences can occur that can lead to non-representative results. So it's an example. If I only sample from this area, what could have happened in that area? Well, there could have been a fertilizer spill. There could be a vehicle parked or a tractor parked in that lot. There could be animal droppings. There could be uneven drainage in that area. A whole potential host of reasons, which is why you don't want to just take from one area. You want to take from multiple regions, collect them together to get a good field representative sample. So what equipment do I need? And this can vary depending on your exact sample method, but in general, you need a map. It's good to know what area or areas you'll be sampling and where each is located and what each is referred to as far as naming and labeling your sample. A shovel, spade, or coring device, and I'll go over some of those. The goal is to collect a consistent soil profile. You may want to avoid rusty iron tools, as this could artificially inflate the iron numbers, just as a side note. You need a bucket or some sort of holding device. This is where the soil subsamples will be collected and then mixed. To ensure isolated samples, the bucket may be lined with a plastic trash bag to avoid any potential contamination. It allows you to label that bag, seal it up, and then you can move along with that soil. Small plastic bags, here is where the final representative sample will be placed, and it should be double bagged when sent to the lab, and be sure you label each bag with the name of the field or identification name as well as your own name. And then a marker to label to make sure you don't end up with all bags of soil in the end and not remember where any were exactly from. Now, where to collect the samples? So this we see here. How do we go about collecting samples? We have some different methods here. Well, first question is how large of an area? And really, in short, it depends on where you go about collecting samples. Fields that will be sampled individually, but if areas are seen to be different, there should be separate samples and labeled separately as well. It could be field 1 good, field 1 bad. It could be a good and bad area of the field, a high area and a low area. A wet area and a dry area. For large fields, it's advised to break them into smaller subsections, such as field 4 upper, field 4 lower, field 4 north, field 4 south, field 4 east and west. A way to kind of separate those to create little smaller areas, just to give you an idea of what might be going on in one part of the field compared to another. Now, how deep do you sample? Well, the goal really is 6 to 9 inches deep, and this is considered to be the main root zone. So you have to go through and measure it. You can measure, some tools have measurements on it, idea how deep your spade is, put a little marker line on it, but 6 to 9 inches deep, that's your goal. Now, sampling methods. So here we're going to look at the spade method. We see some nice pictures located right here. First part, of course, is to clear the surface litter and plant growth from the spot. You want to start with just a flat soil line. You want to dig a hole about as wide as your spade and as deep as the layers you're going to sample. Then with the spade tip, place 1 inch outside of the edge of the hole, cut down, remove a slice of one side of the wall. So here we see the area, cut a little hole there, we're going right down, we're cutting a 1 slice thickness by 6 to 9 inches long area. Keeping that slice at the blade of the spade, use a trowel, knife, or stick to cut away the sides and slice, leaving the center section about 1 inch wide. So we kind of keep that area, You can cut it down a little bit, or you can just use that same whole sample there. Ideally, this 1 inch by 1 inch vertical section of your soil is your sub-sample. So that would really cut down on the amount. Instead of having one area be so large, you can cut it down, or you can just use the whole thing, particularly if you're using a larger pail. You want to place all of these sub-samples into a plastic container, mix them together well, and then remove about 2 cups or 1 pint of this mixture. This is your composite sample to send to the laboratory for analysis. And this is an explanation here, looking at the spade method. Then we also get into the PVC pipe sampling method, where we're looking at the same thing can be applied to a PVC pipe or also a coring device as well. So when we're looking at our coring device or PVC sample, acquire 2 foot length of 1.5 inch PVC pipe, mark 6 to 9 inches on the pipe, pound it into the ground at least to the 6 inch mark, but try to get to the 9 inch mark, remove the core, dislodge it into the pail, and repeat this 6 to 9 times. Now the advantage of the coring device is it's typically stainless steel and it makes it a lot easier. But if you don't want to get one of the kind of higher end stainless steel methods, if you've got a sledgehammer and 2 foot length of 1.5 inch pipe, you can go through and do this same exact method. Realize with the pipe you will be getting more samples, so again, that 5-gallon pail is advised. Mix it all together, take your sub-sample, label, send it off to the lab. Now preparing your soil sample for analysis in the sense that you want to mix your sub-samples together you've collected into one large sample. This is too much to send to the lab. You want to take only a 2-cup sample from what you have collected. As an estimation, if you're in the field, how do I estimate 2 cups? Well, let's kind of think about it, what 2 hands can hold there. That would be the consideration of about 2 cups. That soil should be placed into a labeled bag, double bag the sample, include your paperwork, and send it off to the lab. And as I mentioned before, do not forget the paperwork for your own sake as well as for the sanity of the lab workers. Be sure to clearly label everything, and you also want to double check to make sure you've also included the necessary paperwork with your sample. Don't fill it out and then bag everything up and forget to send it off. So make sure you have that paperwork included with your sample and any payment as well that might be required. So with this, you want to make sure, follow this method. It sounds like a little bit of kind of a laborious task, but in the end, this will definitely save you a lot of work and allow you to make informed decisions to maximize your plant yield overall. All right, so here I am in the field, and I'm going to go over how to take a soil sample with a couple different methods. Now the goal is going to be the same. The end result that we're going to get is going to be the same amount of soil, field representative. So while I'm in a large cornfield here, I'm going to show you an area at one point, but we'd be replicating this soil sampling technique throughout the entire field to get a representative sample. And there's 2 main methods. One, there's a soil core method. So in this example here, I've got an actual soil core. This is probably the easiest way. If you're going to be doing a lot of samples, this is by far the way I would recommend. You're going to take your soil core. This area here is about 6 to 9 inches depth is what you want. The reason why you want that to be that deep is that is basically the root profile. Now, what makes the soil core so nice is it's stainless steel. It's all inclusive. If you don't have that, you can take a little simple 1.5 inch piece of PVC pipe, put that in the ground, mark it with that 6 to 9 inches. Your goal is to get to at least 6 inches. If that goes well, go up to 9 inches. You don't want to really go much more than that because that's really your root zone profile there. You would take this, you would pound this into the ground, and you take that core and put it into your bag right here. I've got a bag over a 5-gallon pail to make sure everything is consistent. I've also got the measuring, I've got some bags, I've got gloves. I can take this out when I get my soil sample and label this. I'm in one field here. We might be going through doing multiple fields. So keep that in mind, that keeping everything labeled is very important, and that's a great way to do that. In addition, the bag also keeps any contaminants that might be within the soil in the bucket separate. So again, you could use a PVC pipe. I like the 1.5 inch because it comes out relatively easy. You're kind of going through and able to dislodge it much easier than if it was a smaller diameter pipe. But since we've got the official soil core here, it operates in the same method. So here's my sample area, and here's my corn plants or whatever. And I put that here on the soil, and then I'm going to push that down to about that mark. I give it a little rotate, and when I go to pull this out, you're going to notice I've got my nice core right here. Now with this core that I have, I'm going to be taking that and adding that to the bucket right here. So what's great about the official soil probe is that because it's got this half cut, it makes it really easy to go through and now replicate this. However, I realize not everyone has a soil core. So what's something that you may have around? Well, you may have a regular spade, and you can do the exact same method. So in this area here, what we want to do is we want to make a hole. So we go through, get our spade. Now we're going to remove a chunk of soil. Now we don't want to take this as our soil sample. What I'm doing is I'm cutting a hole down here. Got some earthworms, always nice to see. And I'm going down that same about 6 to 9 inches. But with my spade, what makes this, why I want a spade with that flat point here, is I'm going to go through now and not take this soil as my sample. There's a profile here. I'm going to take my spade, take about 1 inch away from that, go straight down, and take that out. So what essentially I've got now is that 1 inch profile of the soil. Now you could take this entire sample, put it in there. If you're going to be doing a lot of samples and don't want to carry around that much weight of soil because the bucket gets heavy, you can go through and you can remove a portion of that. And as long as you're consistent and take only maybe the center portion there. So you can take out some of this. Keep in mind, you want to keep that side of that center region. Why? That's going to be your consistent soil there. And we can see enough moisture in the soil here. Take that, essentially that core, that profile, add that to our bag, go back through, refill this in so we don't trip over it in the middle of the night, and then go through and replicate that again and again. When we're done, we've got all of our soil. We don't need to send the whole full bag of soil. We only need approximately, if we mix everything up from all of our cores, get a good kind of representative sample, and what we need to send to the lab is basically what 2 hands can hold. This is all the soil sample we need. We don't have to send them a 5-gallon pail. We also don't want to send them a thimble amount. We want to hold what basically 2 hands can hold, and that's the volume of soil we want to add. I recommend just a regular little lunch bag. When you get all the soil mixed up and you get it nice kind of together, you want to remove anything large that you see in the soil. The lab will screen that out, but why send it to them if you know they're going to screen that out anyway? Visually, what this generally looks like, it's approximately this much. Label the bag, double bag it, and as always, when you're sending this, make sure you also include the appropriate paperwork. The lab will thank you, and it'll help you ensure that you're getting accurate results, and they know exactly where that soil, who that soil belongs to, and where the results need to go to. All right, so we're going to use this field as a representative field for taking soil samples. So when we look at the field overall, we don't see any major like really low spots or any dips. So we can do just a normal random sampling. So this here is going to be my first point to randomly sample. And let's go through and see where else I would sample this particular field. I'd also take a sample from here. I would take another sample from here. And I take another sample from here. And another one from here. And this looks like a good spot. I'll take another one from here. And another sample right from here.